Hey guys, welcome to the Stock and Barrel Shop. I'm Parker. I've been getting a lot of feedback on Instagram and from the few YouTube videos that we've done to do more process videos. And so I wanted to show you how we make our top selling wallet, the vertical wallet. Let me show you what that looks like. So this is the vertical wallet in buck brown harness leather. Definitely one of our top selling wallets. This one and in russet color, but this same wallet. We've sold hundreds and hundreds of these wallets. It's a pretty simple process. I wanted to walk you through it. So I've got some cut out here in natural vegetable tan tooling leather. These are ones that I already had cut out. Unfortunately, they're just a tad bigger. This was from the older version. This is a smaller version that I had. You can tell if I put this up. It's just barely smaller. But I already had these cut out and I wanted to do something with them. So I'm gonna make them here on camera, and if you want one, leave me a comment, send me an email, something like that. You can request it. We'll make it right here on camera and I'll ship it to you. I've always loved vegetable tan natural tooling leather. So we're gonna make some vertical wallets out of it today. I'm gonna walk you through the steps. Okay, so I've got all the pieces here needed for one vertical wallet. So the first step is we need to stitch the interior part of the pocket. I need to make a stitch right here so that the card won't sink all the way down to the bottom and get lost. We want it to sit right up at the level at the pocket. So I'm gonna mark right where we need the stitch, and then we'll go ahead and make two stitches, one here and one here on each side. So I like to use scratch all just to make my marks for where I'm gonna glue and stitch. And I got a little bottle here. Looks like I need some more, but I've got a little bottle here of rubber cement, and that's what I like to use on the leather. Basically, you apply it on each side, and you let it dry and get tacky, and then you stick it together. All right, I'm gonna put the bottom panel on first so that I know where this pocket needs to line up, because I want it to be exactly perfect, or else you're gonna have some gaps in the lines in between. I don't want that. All right, so I'm gonna make my mark here. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Make my mark. So just so you know, this part's the gluing is a little bit time consuming, but it's much better when you have 10 or 15 wallets to do at a time, because then you're not waiting for the glue to dry. You can get started on other ones. By the time you're done with your 10th wallet, the first one's dry by then. Alright, you gotta wait a little bit for that glue to dry, but it's dry now. And I'm just gonna place it right down where it goes. Make sure everything's lined up real nice. Bring this back up just to make sure there's no gaps, which there would have been a little bit. So you push it down. Once it's where you want it, you get that glue down. So now that I got these glued on, I need to go make my stitch here and here. So on a Juki 1508, I got it all threaded up with white bonded nylon thread, weight 92. So this stitch is pretty simple because it's just one straight line, about 4 inches long. Some of the other stitches get a little bit more complicated when you're going around corners or doing detail stitching. But again, this is a lot easier when you have 15 of them to do as opposed to just the one. I go 2 inches forward, back stitch twice, and then I do the same thing to end the stitch. Back stitch twice, and then back forward. Alright, there they are. My 2 stitches to keep the cards from dropping down too low. You don't even see those. You don't have to worry about making them too pretty because they never get seen. By the way, I don't worry about making them too pretty, but I always make sure that they're really strong and tight. So now we're gonna take the 2 front panels and match them up here, and we're gonna put a bead of glue down this side and along the side over here. All right, while I'm waiting for these to dry, I wanted to talk about cutting a little bit because I didn't talk about it at the first. This is the blade that I love to use when I'm cutting one-off projects, or I'm just making, when I'm trimming the pieces that I have. It's called the Teena Blade, and I'll link the store that you get it from online. It's a place called Rocky Mountain something. I'll link it down below, but it's basically a shoemaker's website, And I love this knife. You strop the blade on some leather before you use it. It just stays really sharp, and it's got a scratch all on the end. I love this knife, way better than any utility blade I've tried to use. If we're doing larger scale batches, then we have a local laser cutter cut our pieces for us. So I'll go into Adobe Illustrator and design our products. I send the artwork to him, he cuts it, sends it back to us, and that's how we get these really nice refined edges. Laser cutting is a tricky thing though. Our laser cutter is really talented, and he's done it so much now. He knows just the perfect settings to not get too much burn on the leather. If you do too much, then it'll char the leather and look really bad. Our guy's got it down to a science, and I'm really glad to have him. That's the reason we have hundreds of wallets cut out. And because of our laser cutter, we're able to keep our prices down to $50, $60 a wallet as opposed to $150. If it weren't for that, there's no way we'd be doing these little bit bigger batches than we're used to. So I think our glue's dry now. Alright, so before I stitch, I need to put a groove in the line where the stitch is going to go, because it gives me a good guide to know where the stitch goes, but it also lets the thread sink down into the groove so that it's not exposed too much and it won't get snagged on things. This particular tool, I've had to learn how to be right-handed for it because I'm a southpaw, but if I use it with my left hand, then it's not done right. I could change that by getting a different tool, I think, but at this point I've just gotten so used to this one that I'm alright with it. Alright. We got our grooves. We're grooving. I don't know if you can see the grooves, but they're in there. Let's go stitch it. So just so you know, stitching leather is a lot different than stitching fabric, because every single time that needle goes into the leather, you have to commit to it. There's no going back. So you got to be really careful and take your time with it. On this end, I always do a triple back stitch. Not triple stitches, but I go back over it 3 times, if that makes sense, because I don't like to end on the part where there's only one piece of leather, because that lets the thread unravel. And just so you know, because of the back stitch, even if it comes unraveled a couple times, it won't matter because I went over it 3 times total, so it would have to unravel quite a bit before the structure of the wallet starts becoming compromised. So there's one stitch. So we got both stitches done. So now all we need to do is take the main body panel, flip it upside down, and we're going to glue each of the interior pieces where they need to go. Okay, so now that I have these interior panels glued and they're dried, I'm just going to glue them right to the opposite side of the main panel and then sew them up. I'm going to put the groove in it like I did for the other pieces. This one you have to be a little more careful because it shows real well. Okay, so now that we have the whole thing stitched, the last step is to clean up the edges and get them burnished. Every single leather craftsman in the world burnishes edges differently, but the way we've chosen to do it is by using a little bit of some liquid glycerin or saddle soap, and this one's by Phoebing's. Or they have, you can use some gum tragacanth to do the same thing. We also use a little bit of beeswax, and I apply the saddle soap with a little sponge. So let me take you over to the burnishing wheel and I'll show you how we get it done. So after I do one layer of saddle soap, I do a run on the burnishing wheel. So that starts to get it a pretty good, it lays the fibers down and gives it a pretty good shine to start with, but I like to go back with beeswax to seal it up. Okay, so there's the finished edge, nice and uniform, all one color, and a little bit shiny. So the last step would be, I guess, to light my thread. I forgot to do that. But with natural veg tan leather, you got to be careful not to burn. It doesn't take the heat as well as harness leather does. And there it is. There's the finished product. That's a finished number 52 vertical wallet. This one is a tiny bit bigger than the ones that we're selling now, which is why I want to use this one for the video. And I'll probably sell it as a second sale through Instagram. Or if you want this one specifically, you can leave a comment and or send me an email. So that's it for this video. If you guys have any other specific type of video you want to see or a specific product being made, let me know, and I bet Hannah will want to make it for you. No. That's Hannah, by the way. This is my sister-in-law. She helps us out. She's a cool cat. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, go subscribe. We're going to do a lot more videos like this, and we'll see you on the next one.